When someone pulls away and then reacts with anger because you didn't chase them, it's easy to internalize their emotions as something you caused. But the truth is, their reaction often has little to do with you and far more to do with what's happening within them. People project their insecurities, fears, and unmet needs outward. And when they don't get the response they anticipate, those unresolved feelings bubble to the surface. Understanding this dynamic is the key to protecting your peace and navigating the situation without taking on their emotional baggage. At the heart of this reaction lies the concept of emotional projection. Emotional projection is when someone takes feelings they are uncomfortable with, such as insecurity, fear of rejection, or inadequacy, and attributes them to someone else. In this case, the person who pulled away might have expected you to chase after them, validate their worth, or prove their importance in your life. When that doesn't happen, they are forced to confront their feelings of unworthiness or the possibility that their actions didn't yield the result they wanted. Instead of sitting with these uncomfortable emotions and processing them, they direct their frustration outward, often at you. Their anger becomes a mask for the vulnerability they don't want to face. This anger might manifest in various ways. It could be subtle, like passive-aggressive comments or avoidance, or it could be overt, like accusations or confrontations. Either way, it's important to recognize that these reactions are not about you. They are a mirror reflecting their internal struggles. When you understand this, you can begin to detach yourself from the blame and guilt that often come with such situations. Consider what happens when someone expects a particular response, like chasing, and doesn't get it. For many, this unmet expectation feels like rejection. But the rejection they're experiencing isn't from you, it's from their own mind, which has created a narrative about how things should go. When reality doesn't match their expectations, they are forced to grapple with the dissonance between what they wanted and what actually happened. This dissonance is uncomfortable, and instead of addressing it internally, they may lash out or act in ways designed to provoke a reaction from you. Understanding emotional projection also requires you to look beyond their surface-level behavior. When someone pulls away and then reacts negatively to your lack of pursuit, it's often a sign of deeper issues. They may struggle with feelings of inadequacy stemming from past experiences where their worth was tied to how others responded to them. This dynamic creates a pattern where they seek validation through external means, like seeing if you'll chase them when they create distance. Your refusal to play into this dynamic forces them to confront their own need for validation, which can be deeply unsettling for someone who hasn't developed a strong sense of self-worth. In such situations, it's crucial to remind yourself that their anger is not your responsibility to fix. You are not the source of their pain, you are simply the mirror reflecting it back to them. They may try to make you feel as though you've done something wrong by not chasing, but this is a tactic rooted in their own discomfort. Recognizing this allows you to respond with compassion for yourself and, if you choose, for them as well. This doesn't mean you should excuse harmful behavior or tolerate disrespect. Understanding where their reaction comes from is about gaining clarity, not justifying their actions. When you see that their anger is rooted in their own insecurities, you can approach the situation with a sense of calm and emotional distance. Instead of reacting defensively or trying to explain yourself, you can simply acknowledge their feelings without absorbing them. This detachment is not about being cold or indifferent. It's about recognizing that their emotions are theirs to process, not yours to carry. Another aspect to consider is how societal norms and expectations can play into this dynamic. Many people are conditioned to believe that relationships involve a constant push and pull, where one person chases while the other retreats. This creates a toxic cycle where power dynamics take precedence over genuine connection. When you step out of this cycle by refusing to chase, you disrupt their understanding of how relationships should work. For someone who is used to this game, your refusal to participate can feel like a rejection of them personally, even though it's actually a rejection of unhealthy patterns. By understanding emotional projection, you also begin to see how your actions or inactions can serve as a mirror for their growth. When you don't chase, you're essentially holding up a mirror that reflects their own fears, insecurities, and unmet needs. This reflection can be uncomfortable for them to face, but it's also an opportunity for them to grow. Whether they choose to take that opportunity is up to them, but it's not your job to ensure they do. Your role in this situation is not to fix, chase, or validate. It's to remain rooted in your own sense of self-worth and recognize that their emotions are theirs to own. Silence carries a power that is often underestimated, yet its strength lies in the profound message it delivers without the need for words. When someone expects a reaction, be it chasing, explaining, or justifying, and instead encounters silence, it disrupts their expectations in ways they may not immediately understand. Your silence is not a sign of indifference or weakness, but a deliberate choice to preserve your dignity and maintain your emotional balance. It conveys a message that speaks louder than any argument or plea ever could. You value yourself enough not to be drawn into unnecessary conflict or games. In relationships and interpersonal dynamics, silence has an uncanny ability to reveal truths that words often obscure. When someone pulls away and then becomes angry at your lack of pursuit, their reaction is telling. They may interpret your silence as rejection or assume it's a deliberate punishment. But in reality, your silence is an act of self-preservation. It's a declaration that you refuse to engage in a cycle of validation-seeking behaviors that ultimately serve no one. Silence allows you to step back, observe, and process the situation without being overwhelmed by the emotional chaos that the other person might bring. Silence also acts as a boundary, a firm yet unspoken line that communicates your unwillingness to be manipulated or drawn into drama. It is a shield that protects your peace while allowing you to retain control over your own emotions. When you choose silence, you are making a statement about your values. You are unwilling to lower yourself to a reactive state where the other person dictates your emotional responses. Instead, you are choosing to respond from a place of clarity and strength. There is an inherent discomfort that silence evokes in others, especially in those who thrive on external validation. When someone is used to receiving immediate reactions, be it anger, frustration, or a desperate chase, your silence creates a void they don't know how to fill. This void forces them to confront their own thoughts and feelings, which can be deeply unsettling. In many cases, their anger or frustration stems from this discomfort. They are not angry at your silence per se. They are angry because it forces them to look inward, a place they might not be comfortable exploring. Silence is also a tool for self-reflection. It gives you the space and time to assess your own emotions, evaluate the situation, and decide on your next steps without the influence of external pressures. In a world that often demands immediate responses, taking a moment to remain silent can feel revolutionary. It allows you to prioritize your own needs and emotions rather than reacting impulsively to the demands or expectations of others. Silence helps you stay grounded, ensuring that any action you take moving forward is aligned with your values and long-term well-being. For the person on the receiving end of your silence, it can feel like a challenge to their control or their perception of the relationship dynamic. People who rely on others to chase them often do so because it reinforces their sense of importance or power. When you withhold that reaction, it forces them to reevaluate their assumptions about themselves and about you. They might initially interpret your silence as indifference, but over time, they may come to realize that it is, in fact, a demonstration of strength and self-respect. Silence can also dismantle unhealthy patterns in relationships. When you refuse to engage in chasing behavior, you disrupt the cycle of push and pull dynamics that often characterize toxic interactions. This disruption creates an opportunity for growth, not just for you, but also for the other person. Whether or not they choose to seize that opportunity is their decision, but your silence lays the groundwork for change. It sets a new standard for how you expect to be treated and communicates that you will not participate in behaviors that undermine your self-worth. Another aspect of silence is the way it forces others to confront the consequences of their actions. When someone pulls away and expects you to chase, they are often seeking validation to soothe their own insecurities. Your silence denies them that validation, compelling them to examine why they felt the need to pull away in the first place. This moment of self-reflection can be transformative, though it is not your responsibility to ensure that they learn from it. Your silence is not about teaching them a lesson, it's about preserving your own integrity. It's important to recognize that silence doesn't mean passivity or avoidance. Choosing silence is an active decision, one that requires strength and discipline. It means resisting the urge to explain yourself, defend your choices, or seek closure from someone who may not be capable of providing it. It's about trusting that your actions or lack thereof are enough and that you don't need to prove your worth to anyone. Silence is a form of self-respect, a way of saying that your peace matters more than someone else's opinion or reaction. The strength of silence lies in its ability to convey so much without saying a word. It is a reminder that you don't need to engage in every battle or respond to every provocation. It's a way of holding your ground while allowing the other person to process their own emotions without interference. Silence creates a space where true growth can occur, both for you and for the other person. When someone pulls away and anticipates that you'll chase after them, they are often operating under an illusion of control. This illusion stems from the belief that their actions will dictate your responses, granting them a sense of power in the dynamic. However, when you don't chase, when you refuse to react in the way they expect, you shatter that illusion. It's a moment of disruption that forces them to confront the reality that they cannot control how you respond. This disruption can be unsettling for them because it undermines the foundation of their assumptions about relationships and interactions. The illusion of control arises when individuals believe they can manipulate others' emotions or behaviors to align with their desires. By pulling away, they might expect you to pursue them, thinking that your pursuit validates their worth or confirms their influence over you. This dynamic is not always conscious. It can be rooted in deeper insecurities or learned patterns of behavior where pushing others away serves as a test of loyalty or importance. However, when you don't follow the expected script, you expose the flawed logic of this illusion. Your refusal to chase is a declaration of your autonomy. It's a statement that you are not bound by the unspoken rules they've created. This is not about playing games or trying to assert dominance. It's about staying true to yourself and refusing to be manipulated by someone else's emotional strategies. In doing so, you reclaim the power they assumed they had over you. This can be a pivotal moment in the dynamic, as it challenges their perception of control and forces them to reconsider their approach. The discomfort they feel when the illusion of control is broken often manifests as anger, frustration, or confusion. They may lash out, accuse you of being uncaring, or try to provoke a reaction in other ways. This is because they are grappling with the loss of the control they thought they had. Their reaction is not about you, but about their struggle to accept that they cannot dictate your actions. Understanding this allows you to detach emotionally from their response and see it for what it truly is, a reflection of their own internal turmoil. When you don't chase, you also create a space where they must confront their own feelings. Without the distraction of your pursuit, they are left to sit with their thoughts and emotions. This can be uncomfortable, as it requires them to face the deeper issues that led them to seek control in the first place. Whether it's a fear of abandonment, insecurity about their worth, or unresolved past experiences, these underlying factors come to the surface in the absence of external validation. Your decision not to chase denies them the escape they were seeking, forcing them to turn inward. This moment of introspection can be a turning point for them, but it's important to remember that their growth is not your responsibility. You are not withholding your pursuit to teach them a lesson or to manipulate the situation. You are simply choosing to prioritize your own well-being and self-respect. Their reaction is theirs to navigate, and their growth, if it happens, must come from within. Your role is to maintain your boundaries and resist the urge to step into the dynamic they are trying to create. By breaking the illusion of control, you also shift the balance of power in the relationship. This is not about gaining control yourself, but about establishing a foundation of mutual respect and autonomy. When someone realizes they cannot control you, they are forced to reevaluate how they engage with you. This can lead to healthier dynamics if they are willing to address their own behaviors and patterns. However, it can also reveal incompatibilities or unhealthy tendencies that need to be addressed. It's worth noting that the illusion of control often thrives in environments where communication is indirect or expectations are unspoken. By refusing to chase, you are also challenging these unproductive patterns. Your actions or lack thereof become a form of communication that is both clear and unambiguous. You are stating without words that you will not participate in a dynamic that undermines your self-worth or compromises your values. This clarity can be disarming for someone who is used to relying on manipulation or emotional games to maintain a sense of control. Another aspect to consider is how this dynamic plays into broader societal norms and expectations. In many cultures, there is an unspoken belief that relationships involve a certain degree of chasing and retreating, with one person always pursuing while the other holds the power. By stepping out of this cycle, you challenge these norms and create space for more authentic and balanced connections. This can be liberating not only for you, but also for the other person, as it sets a new standard for how relationships can function. Breaking the illusion of control is not just about the immediate situation, it's about reclaiming your own narrative. It's about recognizing that you are not obligated to play a role in someone else's story, especially when that role diminishes your own sense of self. By refusing to chase, you are choosing to prioritize your own emotional health and well-being over the temporary satisfaction of meeting someone else's expectations. This is a powerful act of self-love and a reminder that you are in charge of your own responses and decisions. When someone pulls away and grows angry because you didn't chase after them, it's often a reflection of their unmet need for validation. Validation in this context is the reassurance they seek from others to affirm their worth, value, or importance. For many, validation acts as a crutch, propping up their sense of self when internal confidence is lacking. When you step back instead of running after them, you withhold this external reinforcement, which can be deeply unsettling for someone who relies on others to feel secure or significant. The need for validation isn't inherently negative. Everyone, at some point, seeks acknowledgement and connection. It becomes problematic when it evolves into dependency, where a person's self-esteem hinges entirely on external sources. For someone who pulls away and expects you to chase, the act of withdrawal is often not about needing space, but about testing their perceived value in your eyes. By not reacting as they anticipate, you inadvertently challenge the narrative they've built for themselves that their worth is measured by how others respond to them. Your refusal to chase is not a rejection of their worth, but a decision to honor your own boundaries. Yet for someone deeply tied to external validation, it can feel like rejection. They might interpret your lack of pursuit as an indication that they don't matter to you, rather than seeing it for what it truly is, a decision rooted in self-respect and emotional clarity. Their anger in such moments often stems from confusion and insecurity, as they struggle to reconcile their expectation of validation with the absence of it. When you withhold validation, you are not being cruel or indifferent, you are simply refusing to play into a dynamic that diminishes both parties. Chasing someone who pulls away to seek validation only reinforces their dependency on external affirmation. It creates a cycle where their self-esteem becomes increasingly tied to how others respond, while you are left expending emotional energy on someone else's unresolved insecurities. This dynamic is draining, unsustainable, and ultimately unfulfilling for both sides. By stepping back, you offer the other person an opportunity to confront their internal landscape. The absence of validation creates a void that can't be filled by external means, forcing them to look inward. In the short term, this can be uncomfortable, even painful. They may lash out, retreat further, or attempt to provoke a reaction to regain the validation they crave. But in the long term, this moment of discomfort has the potential to spark personal growth. Without the distraction of constant reassurance, they may begin to recognize the need to cultivate internal self-worth, rather than relying on others to provide it. It's important to acknowledge that choosing not to validate someone's behavior isn't about teaching them a lesson or trying to change them. Their growth or lack thereof is their responsibility, not yours. Your decision not to chase is about prioritizing your emotional health and stepping away from patterns that don't serve you. It's an act of self-preservation and a refusal to sacrifice your peace in an attempt to satisfy someone else's insecurities. For the person seeking validation, your decision not to chase can feel like a withdrawal of care or attention. This reaction is rooted in the misconception that love, interest, or affection must be demonstrated through constant affirmation. But true connection is not about seeking validation, it's about mutual respect, understanding, and emotional balance. By not chasing, you create a space where genuine connection can flourish, free from the distortions of insecurity and dependency. When someone reacts with anger to your lack of pursuit, it's often because they feel exposed. The validation they seek is a shield, protecting them from confronting their own doubts and fears. Without it, they are forced to face parts of themselves they may have avoided for years. This moment of vulnerability can be deeply unsettling, but it's also an opportunity for self-discovery. Whether they choose to embrace that opportunity is entirely up to them. From your perspective, withholding validation doesn't mean withholding empathy. You can recognize and understand their need for reassurance without compromising your boundaries or engaging in unhealthy dynamics. It's possible to hold space for someone's growth while maintaining your own sense of self. This balance is key to navigating situations where someone's need for validation clashes with your need for autonomy and emotional well-being. It's also worth reflecting on how societal norms contribute to the cycle of external validation. Many people are conditioned to believe that their worth is determined by how others perceive them. Social media, cultural expectations, and even childhood experiences often reinforce the idea that validation must come from outside sources. When you choose not to chase, you are challenging this deeply ingrained belief, both for yourself and for the other person. You are demonstrating that self-worth is not something to be sought externally, but something to be cultivated within. This process of breaking free from the need for external validation isn't easy. It requires strength, resilience, and a willingness to sit with discomfort. For the person pulling away, it may mean grappling with feelings of inadequacy, fear of rejection, or a deep-seated belief that they are unworthy unless someone else says otherwise. For you, it means resisting the urge to reassure them at the expense of your own emotional health. It's a delicate balance, one that requires both compassion and firmness. By not chasing, you also model what healthy self-esteem looks like. You show that it's possible to care for someone without losing yourself in the process. You demonstrate that boundaries are not barriers to connection, but essential components of it. In doing so, you set a standard for how you expect to be treated and create the possibility for more authentic and balanced relationships moving forward. When someone pulls away and expects you to chase, they are often relying on emotional triggers to elicit a reaction from you. This dynamic is less about what you feel and more about how they can use your emotions to maintain a sense of power or control. By not reacting, by choosing not to chase, you not only preserve your emotional energy, but also disrupt the cycle of manipulation they may be attempting to perpetuate. This disruption is powerful because it removes the leverage they believe they have over your emotions. The act of pulling away and waiting for a reaction is, in many ways, a form of emotional bait. It is designed to provoke feelings of insecurity, anxiety, or urgency within you, compelling you to respond in a way that restores their sense of significance. When you don't respond as expected, it forces them to face the reality that their attempts to control the situation are ineffective. This can be deeply unsettling for someone who has grown accustomed to using emotional triggers to influence others. Your decision not to chase sends a clear message: your emotions are not for manipulation, and your actions are not dictated by someone else's attempts to provoke you. This is not an act of defiance or coldness, but a firm assertion of your own emotional autonomy. It is a refusal to participate in a dynamic where one person's insecurities or need for control take precedence over mutual respect and understanding. Emotional manipulation often thrives in the absence of boundaries. By not chasing, you establish a boundary that says, I will not engage in behaviors that compromise my emotional well-being. This boundary is not just about protecting yourself, it's also about setting a standard for how you expect to be treated. It communicates that relationships built on emotional games are neither sustainable nor desirable. This clarity is essential for fostering healthier dynamics, even if it initially creates discomfort for the other person. When you choose not to react to emotional triggers, you also give yourself the space to evaluate the situation with greater clarity. Emotional manipulation relies on immediate, unthinking responses, on pushing you to act before you have time to consider the bigger picture. By stepping back, you create the opportunity to reflect on what is truly happening and how it aligns with your values and needs. This pause is not just about avoiding manipulation, it's about reclaiming your power to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. The absence of your reaction can also act as a mirror for the other person, reflecting back the dynamics they have created. Without the distraction of your pursuit, they are left to confront the impact of their own actions. This can be an uncomfortable realization, especially if they have relied on emotional triggers as a way to navigate relationships. While their response to this realization is not your responsibility, it is a necessary step in breaking the cycle of manipulation and moving toward healthier ways of relating. It's important to recognize that emotional triggers are often rooted in deeper insecurities or unresolved issues. Someone who pulls away and expects you to chase may be grappling with feelings of inadequacy, fear of rejection, or a need for validation that stems from past experiences. By not reacting, you are not dismissing these struggles, but simply choosing not to enable behaviors that perpetuate them. This distinction is crucial because it allows you to maintain empathy without compromising your boundaries. For someone who relies on emotional triggers, your lack of reaction can feel like a loss of control. They may attempt to escalate their behavior, seeking new ways to provoke you or regain the upper hand. This escalation is a sign that their strategy is no longer working, and it underscores the importance of staying firm in your decision not to chase. Responding to their attempts to regain control only reinforces the cycle of manipulation, while maintaining your stance disrupts it further. In breaking this cycle, you also model what healthy emotional regulation looks like. You demonstrate that it is possible to navigate relationships without resorting to manipulation or reactive behavior. This modeling is not about changing the other person, but about embodying the values and standards you wish to uphold. It sets the tone for how you engage with others and creates a foundation for more authentic and balanced connections. Your refusal to engage with emotional triggers is also a powerful act of self-care. It acknowledges that your emotions are valuable and deserve to be protected from exploitation. This act of self-preservation is not selfish, it is a recognition of your own worth and a commitment to nurturing your emotional well-being. By prioritizing yourself in this way, you create space for relationships that are based on mutual respect rather than manipulation. The process of disengaging from emotional triggers can be challenging, especially if you have a history of responding to them. It may require unlearning patterns of behavior that were once automatic and replacing them with new ways of thinking and acting. This journey is not about perfection, but about progress, about gradually building the skills and awareness needed to navigate relationships with greater confidence and clarity. By not chasing, you take a stand against the use of emotional triggers as a means of control. You assert your right to exist in relationships as an equal, not as someone who can be manipulated or provoked at will. This stand is not just for your own benefit, but also for the benefit of the other person, as it challenges them to reconsider their approach and take responsibility for their own emotions. While their growth is their own journey, your choice to disengage creates the possibility for more authentic and meaningful connections in the future. The concept of self-respect is deeply intertwined with how we respond to the actions and behaviors of others. When someone pulls away from you and expects you to chase after them, it tests not only your emotional resilience, but also your sense of self-worth. Choosing not to chase is an act of self-respect, a decision to honor your value and prioritize your emotional well-being over the whims of another. This choice is neither easy nor automatic. It requires strength, clarity, and an unwavering commitment to yourself. Respect for oneself begins with recognizing that you are not defined by how others treat you or whether they seek your attention. Many people fall into the trap of equating someone's withdrawal with a reflection of their own worth, as if their value diminishes when another person steps away. This mindset is a distortion, one that leads to feelings of inadequacy and desperation. When you operate from a place of self-respect, however, you understand that someone pulling away says more about them than it does about you. Their behavior is not a verdict on your worth, but a manifestation of their own insecurities, fears, or unresolved emotions. Choosing not to chase someone who is pulled away is not about indifference or a lack of care. is about refusing to compromise your dignity to seek someone else's approval. It is about understanding that your worth does not depend on their validation or the effort you put into proving your value to them. This realization can be liberating, as it allows you to shift your focus from seeking external affirmation to cultivating an unshakable sense of self-worth from within. When you prioritize self-respect, you also establish boundaries lines that protect your emotional health and define how you expect to be treated. Boundaries are not walls meant to isolate you from others, but guideposts that ensure your relationships are built on mutual respect and understanding. In the context of someone pulling away, your boundary might be the decision not to chase after them, even when their behavior triggers feelings of insecurity or longing. This boundary is an assertion of your belief that relationships should be reciprocal, not one-sided, and that your energy should be invested in those who genuinely value and respect you. Self-respect also involves embracing the discomfort that comes with standing firm in your decisions. When you don't chase, there may be moments when doubt creeps in, when you wonder if your choice will lead to loss or misunderstanding. These moments can be challenging, but they are also opportunities to reaffirm your commitment to yourself. By sitting with the discomfort and resisting the urge to react impulsively, you strengthen your resolve and deepen your understanding of what self-respect truly means. It's important to acknowledge that the decision not to chase does not mean suppressing your emotions or pretending that the other person's actions don't affect you. Self-respect is not about denying your humanity, it's about choosing how to respond to your emotions in a way that aligns with your values. You can feel hurt, disappointed, or even angry without letting those feelings dictate your actions. By processing your emotions in a healthy way through reflection, conversation, or creative outlets, you honor your experiences without compromising your integrity. In many ways, self-respect is an act of self-love. It's about treating yourself with the kindness, compassion, and care you would extend to someone you deeply value. When you choose not to chase, you are telling yourself that your time, energy, and emotions are precious and should not be expended on pursuits that diminish you. This act of self-love is not selfish. It is essential for maintaining your well-being and creating the foundation for healthier, more fulfilling relationships. Your decision to prioritize self-respect also sends a powerful message to others about how you expect to be treated. It communicates that you will not tolerate behavior that undermines your value or disregards your boundaries. This clarity can inspire respect from those around you, as they see that you are not easily swayed by emotional manipulation or reactive tendencies. At the same time, it may challenge those who are accustomed to relying on your pursuit for their own validation. While their response is beyond your control, your commitment to self-respect remains steadfast. Self-respect also involves recognizing that chasing someone who has pulled away often leads to diminishing returns. The more you invest in pursuing someone who isn't reciprocating, the more you deplete your own emotional resources. This cycle can leave you feeling drained, frustrated, and disconnected from yourself. By choosing not to chase, you break this pattern and redirect your energy toward pursuits that enrich your life and align with your aspirations. Ultimately, self-respect is about knowing your worth and refusing to settle for less than what you deserve. It's about choosing yourself even when it feels difficult or counterintuitive. When you embody self-respect, you become a source of strength and inspiration, not only for yourself, but also for those around you. Your decision to honor your value sets a standard for how you engage with the world, creating a ripple effect that can influence your relationships, goals, and overall sense of fulfillment. When you choose not to chase someone who pulls away, you reclaim the energy that would otherwise be spent on pursuing validation or seeking answers outside yourself. This energy, when redirected inward, can become a catalyst for profound personal growth and transformation. It's an opportunity to take stock of your emotions, reassess your priorities, and commit to becoming the best version of yourself. Rather than expending your energy on trying to fix or salvage a relationship dynamic that may not be serving you, you invested in your own evolution. Personal growth begins with self-awareness. When someone pulls away, it's natural to feel a range of emotions: confusion, hurt, frustration, or even anger. These feelings are valid, but they also hold valuable insights into your inner world. By stepping back And reflecting on your reactions, you can uncover patterns, triggers, and unmet needs that may be influencing your response. For example, you might realize that the urge to chase stems from a fear of abandonment or a need for external validation. This awareness is the first step toward breaking free from reactive patterns and cultivating a deeper sense of self-worth. As you redirect your energy inward, you create space to nurture your mind, body, and spirit. This could mean exploring new interests, developing skills, or pursuing goals that align with your values and passions. It's about filling your life with activities and experiences that bring you joy and fulfillment, independent of anyone else's actions or approval. For instance, if you've always wanted to take up painting, start a fitness journey, or learn a new language, now is the time to channel your energy into those pursuits. These endeavors not only enrich your life, but also reinforce the understanding that your happiness is not contingent on someone else's presence or attention. In the process of focusing on yourself, you may also find clarity about what you truly want and need in your relationships. When you're caught up in chasing someone, it's easy to lose sight of your own standards and settle for less than you deserve. By stepping back, you can reassess your expectations and ensure that they align with your values. This might involve asking yourself questions like, what does a healthy, balanced relationship look like to me? Or what qualities do I value most in a partner? The answers to these questions can serve as a guide for future connections, helping you build relationships that are based on mutual respect and genuine connection. Redirecting your energy inward also fosters resilience, the ability to navigate challenges with strength and adaptability. When you focus on your growth, you cultivate inner resources that help you weather difficult situations without becoming overly reliant on external validation. This resilience is empowering because it reminds you that, regardless of what happens in your relationships, you have the tools to support and sustain yourself. It's a form of emotional self-sufficiency that allows you to engage with others from a place of abundance rather than neediness. Another aspect of personal growth is the opportunity to redefine your sense of identity. When someone pulls away, it can sometimes feel like a part of your identity is tied to their presence in your life. By choosing not to chase, you reclaim your autonomy and remind yourself that your worth is not dependent on anyone else. This is a chance to reconnect with who you are at your core, your values, strengths, and aspirations, and to build a life that reflects your authentic self. As you focus on your growth, you may also discover a newfound sense of confidence. This confidence doesn't come from external achievements or validation, but from the knowledge that you are capable of navigating life's ups and downs with grace and integrity. It's the quiet assurance that you are enough, just as you are, and that you have the strength to face whatever challenges come your way. This confidence radiates outward, influencing how you carry yourself and how others perceive you. It becomes a magnet for the kind of relationships and opportunities that align with your highest self. Personal growth also involves cultivating a mindset of abundance. When you redirect your energy inward, you begin to see that there is an abundance of possibilities, opportunities, and connections available to you. The loss of one person's attention or presence does not diminish your potential for happiness or fulfillment. Instead, it opens the door for new experiences and relationships that are more aligned with your growth and values. This shift in perspective can be liberating, as it frees you from the scarcity mindset that often drives the urge to chase. In this journey of self-discovery and growth, you may also find that the act of not chasing inspires others around you. When people see you choosing yourself and focusing on your evolution, it sets an example of strength and self-respect. It shows that it's possible to navigate relationships with integrity and to prioritize your well-being without compromising your values. This influence is not about seeking validation from others, but about embodying the principles you believe in and encouraging others to do the same. Redirecting your energy inward is not just about individual growth, it's about creating a ripple effect that impacts every area of your life. As you become more aligned with your values and authentic self, you naturally attract people and opportunities that resonate with your energy. This alignment fosters deeper, more meaningful connections and a greater sense of purpose. It's a reminder that the best relationships and experiences come not from chasing, but from being fully present and engaged in your own journey. The process of redirecting your energy is both empowering and transformative. It's a decision to turn what might feel like a loss into an opportunity for growth, to shift your focus from what you lack to what you can create. It's about taking ownership of your life and embracing the infinite possibilities that come with investing in yourself. This is not an act of selfishness, but a commitment to becoming the person you were always meant to be, unencumbered by the need for external validation or approval. When someone pulls away from you and expects you to chase after them, it can be a difficult and confusing experience. However, understanding the psychological dynamic at play reveals a deeper truth. Their actions often stem from their own insecurities and an underlying desire for control. By choosing not to engage in their game, you not only protect your emotional well-being, but also send a powerful message about your boundaries and your refusal to be manipulated. This decision can be transformative as it forces the other person to confront their own behaviors and motives while reinforcing your own sense of self-respect. When someone pulls away, they might be testing your response, intentionally or unintentionally. They could be seeking reassurance, wanting to feel desired, or looking for confirmation of their own worth. Their withdrawal may be a subconscious attempt to provoke you into proving your care for them by pursuing them. This dynamic can often reflect deeper insecurities, perhaps a fear of being unimportant or unloved. While their behavior might seem irrational or even hurtful, it's crucial to recognize that it's less about you and more about their inner struggles. By not chasing, you interrupt this cycle of dependence and validation. Instead of feeding into their need for external affirmation, you create space for them to take accountability for their own emotions and actions. You signal that your worth is not tied to their approval, nor will you compromise your boundaries to placate their insecurities. This approach can be disarming to someone who is accustomed to using withdrawal as a way to gain control or test the limits of your care. It shifts the power dynamic, making it clear that you are not willing to participate in emotional games. Your decision not to chase also challenges the other person to reflect on their own behavior. When their expectations are not met, when you don't run after them as they anticipated, they are forced to confront the reasons behind their actions. This can be an uncomfortable but necessary step for their growth. They might begin to question why they felt the need to pull away in the first place and what they hope to achieve by doing so. For some, this moment of introspection can lead to greater self-awareness and a willingness to address the insecurities that drive their behavior. For others, it may simply highlight the fact that their attempts to manipulate or control were ineffective. Refusing to chase does not mean that you are indifferent to the other person's feelings or struggles. On the contrary, it can be an act of compassion, not just for yourself, but also for them. By not enabling their unhealthy patterns, you give them the opportunity to grow and learn. You demonstrate through your actions that relationships should be built on mutual respect, not on tactics designed to elicit a specific response. This is a powerful lesson, one that can inspire the other person to reevaluate how they approach connections and interactions. At the same time, it's important to acknowledge that their reaction to your choice may vary. Some individuals may respond with frustration or even anger, interpreting your decision not to chase as a rejection or a lack of care. This reaction, too, is rooted in their insecurities and their difficulty in processing feelings of vulnerability. While it may be tempting to explain or justify your actions, remember that their emotions are ultimately their responsibility. Your role is not to manage their feelings, but to stay true to your values and boundaries. Choosing not to chase also sends a powerful message about your own emotional maturity. It demonstrates that you are not easily swayed by the whims of others or by the fear of losing their attention. It shows that you value authenticity over pretense, and that you are willing to prioritize your well-being over temporary reassurance. This level of self-assurance can be deeply impactful, not only for the other person, but also for yourself. It reinforces your belief in your own worth and strengthens your ability to navigate future relationships with confidence and clarity. The act of not chasing also shifts the focus back to what truly matters: the quality and integrity of your relationships. When someone pulls away and expects you to pursue them, it reveals a lack of alignment in your connection. Genuine relationships are characterized by mutual effort, respect, and understanding, not by one person constantly seeking the other's validation. By refusing to chase, you set a standard for how you want to be treated and for the type of connections you wish to cultivate. This clarity can help you attract healthier, more balanced relationships that align with your values and aspirations. Moreover, when you don't chase, you demonstrate the power of emotional self-sufficiency. You show that you are capable of navigating challenges without losing your sense of self or compromising your principles. This resilience is a testament to your growth and strength, qualities that can inspire others and enhance the overall quality of your life. It also creates a foundation of trust and respect, both within yourself and in your relationships. The decision not to chase is not about winning or losing, it's about prioritizing what truly matters. It's about refusing to engage in behaviors that diminish your sense of self or perpetuate unhealthy dynamics. It's about standing firm in your values and recognizing that your worth is not defined by someone else's actions or approval. By choosing not to chase, you reclaim your power, protect your peace, and pave the way for deeper, more meaningful connections in the future.